My life is one that it's really hard to know where to begin. I was born with a disability called oral mandibular hypogenesis limb deficiency syndrome, and got to learn how to say that when I was 6 or 8. It means that I'm missing both my legs, half of my arm, and some other deformities with the jaw and with my hand. And my biological parents, when I was born, their perspective from their personal beliefs were that they must have done something wrong, that they had been cursed. The doctors told them that it was due to a test that they had done too early in the pregnancy, but they still couldn't believe that. They were pretty sure I was a curse. So my parents gave me up for adoption right from the hospital. And I went to the state orphanage and spent the next 15 months there. The state orphanage had heard through their connections. There was an American family that lived about 8 hours south of Taipei. They gave them a call and said, "Hey, we have a little boy with one arm, no legs, and he's supposed to be adopted by another family in America, but we want him to be used to Americans and hear the English language. Would you be willing to take him in and provide foster care for him?" They were a missionary family in Taiwan. They lived there for about 4 or 5 years. They came and picked me up, and then they took me back to their home, and I stayed with them for 2 or 3 months. And after those 2 or 3 months, this family would tell you, they said, "Well, we fell in love with him, and he became our own child." They already had 3 of their own, and said, "We don't want to give him back." So they asked the state orphanage if they could adopt. Feels like a whirlwind. How much God has watched out for me, and his provision and the opportunities he's opened for me. As a little kid, it was very challenging to fit in or to get people to accept that maybe I could do what they were doing. Because I don't feel like I grew up with hardships. I don't feel like I grew up any different than any other kid growing up, because my parents didn't let my disability be a crutch or a handicap. They taught me to grow with a faith and a belief that this is how God made me, and that was good, that was okay. Individuals always feel bad for me, and they wish that life was normal for me and that I had all my limbs. And I look at that, I think, what would life have been like had I been born with my limbs? And my perspective is, one of the many reasons I'm thankful for being born this way is, if I hadn't been born this way, I would never know God. I'm confident that I would have been raised in a different way. I was just this little boy in an orphanage that got passed around. There was nothing that I could do. There's no decisions I made. God is really working and moving and leading me in my life in ways that I still don't understand to this day. How could you not want to try and draw closer to that and understand that? As I grew my relationship with God, it became so much more intimate. The focusing on the death and the torture seems so distant, because we don't see that, we don't experience that now. But to think about why he went through it, for me, and for my good and for my future, and that I could be here today.